Okay, listen to this. Do you want to get into music production, but you're on a budget or you just don't want to spend that much? Or are you in music production already and you just want to save yourself some money? Well, you're in the right place. I'm going to start a brand new series today called Budget Studio, and in this series I'll be exploring the most affordable, good alternatives for equipment in your home studio. So let's get started right now. Hey everyone, my name is Percy Jules. Welcome to Supercy and welcome to my brand new series called Budget Studio. Again, in this series, I'll be investigating into what the most affordable good options are when it comes to choosing certain musical equipment. It'll be an interesting journey for myself, but hopefully also for you. Now today, as a kind of introduction, let's talk about what equipment you absolutely need to get started into music recording, music production, so a kind of basic setup. Now obviously, what equipment you absolutely need strongly depends on what it is exactly that you want to do. So do you only want to record vocals, or do you only want to record some basic ideas for your band? Are you a producer? Do you only want to use virtual instruments, or do you only want to use more conventional instruments? So depending on your needs, the required basic setup may vary from situation to situation. But let's go over some of the things that we basically all need to have to get started. Now, first of all, you need something to record with. And nowadays, by far the most popular recording device is obviously a computer. And that's also what I would recommend, in most cases anyway. There are some situations where you might want to consider something else, but in most cases I would recommend a computer. Now, if you're using a computer, you also need some kind of computer program to enable you to make recordings, mix, edit, produce, and things like that. Now, such a program is usually referred to as a DAW or DAW or digital audio workstation. Now next, you obviously also need something to record, some kind of instrument. And you can either use virtual instruments, digital instruments, or you can use more conventional instruments like a guitar, a bass guitar, an analog synthesizer, and things like that. Now the same is kinda true for effects. You're gonna need effects to enhance your recordings with, and you can either use digital effects or you can use hardware effects. Now, of course, you also need some way to communicate with your computer. If you're using virtual instruments, then I would highly recommend also getting a keyboard. If you're not using virtual instruments at all, then obviously a keyboard isn't absolutely necessary. Now, recording instruments like an electric guitar or an electric bass guitar requires, first of all, the instruments themselves, of course. By the way, if you also want to record something like your voice or an acoustic guitar, you're also gonna need a microphone. But then you also need to somehow convert that analog sound into digital sound. And for that, you need an audio interface. In fact, I would say, if you're using a computer for music production, then get a decent audio interface, even if you're not recording analog sound, because you also need to be monitoring accurately whatever it is that you're doing, and you need at least a decent audio interface to do that. And finally, speaking of monitoring, you're also going to need some kind of device to enable yourself to somehow monitor whatever it is that you're doing. Now, one way, which is usually the most affordable way, is by using headphones, which in my opinion should always be the first priority when it comes to choosing a device for monitoring. So get a pair of headphones first. Now, if you're also into mixing and producing and mastering and things like that, then I would strongly recommend also getting a pair of monitor speakers. Because, at least I think, it's very difficult mixing and producing music only using headphones. It's not impossible, theoretically, but it can be a bit tricky. So if your budget allows it, get a pair of speakers. So that's it. That's the basic setup for most people anyway. Of course, there are some people that may have some different needs. They may need some additional equipment, or they may even need less equipment depending on the situation. We might get into some of those in future episodes. But I believe that this is the most common, basic, bare-boned setup for a home studio. Now in this series we will be taking a more detailed look at what equipment is affordable yet good enough, and what is it that you actually really need and what is it that you don't really need in your specific situation. So if you're interested in that, then consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so you won't miss a thing. I'll be uploading a new Budget Studio video every week on Monday, so stay tuned for that. For now, thank you for watching and I will talk to you soon.